Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. We had several new subscribers overnight and this morning. Things can be picking up, and for that I am very grateful. So today we are going to do another book or short story review from author Ray Bradbury. This story will be The Dead Men from his 1947 collection Dark Carnival, which was his first book. Apparently all but 6 of these stories in that collection had been previously published elsewhere, but it's unclear whether this was new for the volume or whether it had been previously published. There's a lot of just gaps in the information for this early time in Bradbury's career. If there is a source that has all this information, I have yet to find it, but I'll be keeping an eye out for that. So the Dead Man, ever since a flood, an old man who the townspeople called Odd Martin has been claiming that he is dead. He lays around the town, on the sidewalk, in the gutter for hours at a time, apparently as if he is dead, only nobody had told him his body. And for a few pages, you almost think that maybe he really is dead. Is this a joke, or what is going on here? But he's a town weirdo. Another town weirdo is a old spinster named Miss Weldon, who works in the barbershop doing manicures, and she speaks little. One day, with the help of a boy, Charlie Bellows, who sometimes notices the old man and talks to him in town, he gets up the courage to ask Mrs. Weldon to marry him. Being lazy and slovenly, he's managed to scrape together $1,000 doing odd jobs, for which he wants to buy a new wedding dress and a suit and a small house on the outskirts of town for $500. So Charlie helps him do all this, and the next day the whole town is talking about this mysterious elopement, and nobody can find the bride or the groom. It's unclear where they have gone. Charlie is sitting at the breakfast table that morning with his father, who has the newspaper open, and they're talking about the fact that they seem to be missing. Charlie, he mentions to his father that he'd bought a small house on the outside of town, and his father says, yes, I'd heard that, but I talked to the only realtor in town, and he said that he had made no such transaction, no such sale, and that there really weren't any houses out on that part of town. At this point, the story sort of haphazardly mentions in the parting lines that perhaps he had actually bought a burial plot in the Trinity Park Cemetery on the edge of town from Mr. Gustafson, who apparently is a realtor of sorts, although not the type of realtor that you think of. The living buy houses, for the dead you buy graves. So, it's a charming story. It's a neat little concept, but it's ultimately, I felt like that it was a little bit weak. It doesn't quite accomplish its goal convincingly, or not. It's funny, but it's not quite funny enough. It's poignant, but not quite poignant enough. I do like the little twist at the end that perhaps he's married and he's gone off to die with a bride in a burial plot. I love the idea that Odd Martin seemingly lost the will to live when his original farm flooded. Presumably he lost his family, but yet his body didn't die after his life sort of ended. He kept on living. But then he had to stick around until he could earn enough money to afford to be able to bury himself and another loved one. The message here is, I think, on a superficial level, dying is expensive. We see this in our real world. You know, if you don't have life insurance, and so many families struggle to put their loved ones in the ground for some inexplicable reason. Since it really began around the Civil War, when everybody learned how to embalm, and suddenly there was this big industry in burials. It became too expensive to bury your loved ones, and families are sometimes ruined by trying to put their loved ones in the ground. But the bigger concept here is that sometimes our bodies outlive our souls and our lives. Sometimes people outlive their lives. Tragedy happens. Your loved ones, your family passes on. You're alone. Everything that you had is gone, but yet your body lives on, and in some cases, people don't know what to do with themselves. And I think you see this a lot in reality, especially around the holidays. About every year I see a story where an old couple who's been married for 70 years will suddenly die individually within days of each other, because without the other, there's nothing to live for. But in this case, try as he may to lay around and act dead, Odd Martin was unable to die, and apparently, as is inferred in the story, he went off with a new bride to hopefully finally achieve the end and have somebody to go to the end with. But now we're getting a little bit down and out, bit of a downer of a story. So we'll be back next time with June 2001 and the Moon Be Still at Bright. Presumably, I think that is part of the Martian Chronicles. So stick around and see what that is all about next time here on Let's Talk. See you later.